channel. Today, I will delve into Norse mythology and talk about their god of war and justice, Tyr, the mighty deity who is one of the most important Viking gods, listed among the 12 most powerful and significant Aesir. The forgotten champion, Tyr, god of war and justice. In the cold echoes of Norse myth, where gods clash with giants and fate is carved into the bark of Yggdrasil, there stands a warrior few remember, but none should forget. Tyr, the silent sentinel of war and justice, was once hailed as the bravest of all Aesir, a deity whose courage outshone even the thunder of Thor or the cunning of Odin. Yet today, he lingers in the shadows of the sagas, his legacy fragmented, passed down like whispers in the wind. Tyr wasn't just a god of war, he was its conscience. Where others charged into battle seeking glory, Tyr fought for balance, for truth, for honor. He was the only one willing to face the jaws of Fenrir, the monstrous wolf born of chaos, sacrificing his right hand so that the gods could bind the beast. That act alone, calm, resolute, and final, echoes through time as the ultimate symbol of selflessness. But what if history had taken a different turn? What if Tyr had remained the chief deity, not Odin? What myths would we tell today about a world ruled by justice over trickery? Though much of his lore was absorbed or erased as Odin rose in power, the essence of Tyr endures, in runes carved into swords, in the sense of duty before victory, and in every story where a hero chooses principle over power. Tyr may not be the god who speaks the loudest, but he is the one who stood still when silence was needed most. In a world of shifting alliances and roaring egos, perhaps that's what makes him truly divine. The enigma of Tyr's bloodline, born of gods or giants who birthed the god of justice. In a pantheon where lineage often defines destiny, Tyr's origins remain cloaked in mystery, woven with threads of myth, contradiction, and speculation. Was he the son of Odin, the Allfather, born of divine might? Or did he emerge from the ancient blood of the giants, son of Hymir, a being both feared and revered? Unlike Thor, whose thunderous heritage is sung by skalds, or Loki, whose trickster lineage sparks chaos, Tyr stands at a crossroads between godhood and the primal chaos of Jotunheim. One tale whispers that he journeyed with Thor to his father Hymir's hall in search of a cauldron vast enough to brew mead for the gods, an errand that suggests more than simple acquaintance. If Hymir was truly his father, who was his mother? Could it have been Frigg, Odin's queen, making Tyr the godly stepson lost in the political shadows of Asgard? Such questions don't merely reflect curiosity, they reveal the uncertainty the Norse felt about their own divine hierarchy. Tyr's ambiguous parentage speaks volumes. He was a bridge between order and chaos, a god whose loyalty to justice transcended bloodlines. Perhaps that's why Tyr's tales were left scattered like shattered runestones. He didn't fit the mold of the power-hungry Aesir. He was duty-bound, self-sacrificing, a god not of dominance, but of principle. And so, his origin remains a riddle. A myth forgotten not for lack of greatness, but because greatness doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it simply acts. A god's sacrifice, the day Tyr faced the wolf. In a realm of gods and monsters, where deceit danced with destiny, one act of true courage pierced through the chaos, Tyr's sacrifice. The gods had a problem. Fenrir, the monstrous wolf child of Loki, grew stronger with each passing day. His breath fogged the skies, and his roar echoed through the 9 realms. The Aesir feared what he might become. They needed to bind him, before prophecy became catastrophe. But how do you trick a beast born of chaos? First, with flattery. The gods challenged Fenrir to test his strength, forging shackles that he shattered like twigs. Then came Gleipnir, a ribbon spun from impossible things, a woman's beard, a mountain's root, the sound of a cat's footstep. Beautiful. Silent. Deadly. Fenrir, no fool, sensed the deceit. He agreed to wear it, but only if one god placed their hand in his jaws as a sign of trust. No one moved. Not Odin. Not Thor. Only Tyr, the god of war, of justice, stepped forward. And when Fenrir found he'd been tricked, his wrath was swift. His jaws clamped shut, and Tyr's right hand was no more. But the wolf was bound. The realms were safe. And Tyr? He did not scream. He did not curse. He simply stood, a god diminished in flesh, but elevated in honor. In that one moment, Tyr did what even kings could not. He proved that justice is not words carved in stone, but action taken in silence, at great cost. Mars of the North, how the Romans remembered Tyre. When the Romans looked northward, beyond their marble temples and sun-drenched forums, they saw a world of mist and iron, a world ruled by thunder, wolves, and war. And among those Norse deities, one caught their attention not for his flair, but for his principle, Tyre. They named him Mars Thingsus, Mars of the Thing, a war god, yes, but also a god of law and assembly. In this single name, the Romans captured what the sagas only hint at. Tyre was not just a warrior, he was a judge, a symbol of order in a realm born from chaos. To the Romans, this alignment made sense. Their Mars was more than a battlefield brute, he was a symbol of strength tied to duty and sacrifice. Tyre, who gave his hand to chain the monstrous Fenrir, fit this mold better than the storm-bringing Thor or the scheming Odin. Tacitus, the Roman historian, saw the echoes. He wrote of three primary gods among the Germanic tribes: Mercury, Odin, Hercules, Thor, and Mars, Tyre. But while Mercury required human sacrifices, Mars received only animals, a quiet hint that even in bloodshed, Tyre valued restraint. Across cultures and time, Tyre's essence endured, not in grand temples or golden statues, but in the idea that justice and war must walk hand in hand, and that true power is not domination, but the courage to act when no one else will. In the end, the Romans gave Tyre something Asgard did not, a place in written memory. Runes of valor, the sacred symbols of Tyre, carved into the hilt of a sword, etched along a warrior's blade, or inked onto shields before battle, the rune Tiwaz, blazed with meaning. It was more than just a symbol. It was a prayer. A vow. A call to Tyre, the god of war and justice, the silent sentinel of the Aesir. Unlike Thor's hammer or Odin's ravens, Tyre's mark wasn't about power, it was about purpose. Warriors who etched the Tiwaz rune didn't seek chaos or glory. They sought victory through honor, protection through truth. In Norse lore, it was believed that invoking Tyre's name, sometimes twice, on weapons could tilt the tide of battle. Not with brute strength, but with righteous resolve. In the poetic Edda, the Valkyrie Sigurdrifa teaches the hero Sigurd to carve the victory runes, on the blade, the hilt, and the guards, always naming Tyre. This wasn't mere ritual. It was sacred alignment, a merging of fate and will, steel and spirit. But Tyre wasn't a warlord. He was a guardian of balance. He knew that a sword must serve justice, not bloodlust. That is why his followers didn't offer grand temples, they offered deeds. Every time a warrior stood for the weak, or held their ground in silence while fear crept in, Tyre lived again. The Tiwaz rune remains, ancient, angular, and defiant, a reminder that some battles are fought not just with blades, but with principles etched in bone and stone. The final stand, Tyre and the Hound of Hell. Not all legends end in triumph. Some end in silence, echoing through the ruins of shattered realms and blood-soaked skies. When Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, descends upon the 9 realms, the bravest among them does not run. He does not rally armies. He simply walks into fate. Tyre, the god who once gave his hand to bind chaos, faces his final battle. But this time, it is not a wolf he must tame. It is Garm, the monstrous hound of Helheim, guardian of the underworld, a beast soaked in death and vengeance. As the world burns, and gods clash with giants, Tyre meets the beast alone. No songs foretell this duel. No Valkyrie watches. Just god and hound, justice and death, colliding in a fight foretold, forgotten, and final. They tear into each other like old truths and new lies. Blood floods the broken stones. And then, silence. Both fall. Tyre's end is not wrapped in glory. There are no golden halls or cheering crowds. But in that quiet death lies a deeper legacy, the god who gave his hand to bind chaos, and his life to hold the gates of death. While Odin dies to the wolf, and Thor to the serpent, Tyre dies to a dog. But don't mistake simplicity for shame. For it is not how a god dies that matters, it's why he stood in the first place. And Tyre stood for honor. Alone. Without praise. Until the very end. Though often overshadowed by the fame of Odin or the might of Thor, Tyre remains a timeless symbol of honor and sacrifice. He is the god who did not seek glory, but chose duty, who gave not just his hand, but his pride, for the safety of all. In a world where power often speaks loudest, Tyre's quiet bravery echoes deeper. He stands as a reminder that true strength lies in justice, and that real courage is measured by the willingness to sacrifice for the greater good. Tyr may be forgotten by some, but his legacy endures, in every act of selfless courage.